She was crawling, barefoot, wearing nothing but a frozen sports bra in -40 degrees. Two children clutched against her chest, one silent, one barely breathing. Her skin had turned gray. Her lips were white. She had stopped shivering 20 minutes ago, which meant her body had given up trying to save itself. But her arms wouldn't release those children, not even when her heart stopped for 11 seconds. Behind her, 4.8 miles of bloody footprints in the snow. Ahead, a single headlight cutting through the blizzard, a Hell's Angel who had made a promise to a dead man. And somewhere on that same highway, her husband was driving home, smiling, certain he had just murdered his entire family for 900,000. Subscribe now and comment your city. Let Sarah know how far her story has traveled tonight. The woman's name was Sarah Mitchell, and 19 hours earlier, she had no idea she was already dead. That's how Derek Mitchell thought of her. Dead. A problem that would solve itself by morning. All he had to do was wait for the weather. December 23rd, 3 weeks before the blizzard, Derek sat in his apartment in Helena, Montana, watching the forecast like a man watching his lottery numbers come up. The meteorologist's voice filled the room. Historic winter storm system moving across Montana. Expected wind chills of -40 to -45 degrees. Travel not advised. This could be the worst storm in 15 years. Derek smiled. His phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa, his girlfriend of 8 months. When are we telling your family about us? It's been long enough, baby. He typed back. Soon. By March, everything will be different, I promise. What Vanessa didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Derek Mitchell was still married. That his wife Sarah was very much alive. That his 2 children, Lucas and Lily, weren't orphans living with their grandmother like he'd told Vanessa. They were living with their mother. The mother Derek needed to disappear. He opened his laptop. 3 browser tabs. The first, a weather radar showing the storm's projected path. The second, a life insurance portal showing 3 active policies. Sarah Mitchell, $600,000. Lucas Mitchell, $150,000. Lily Mitchell, $150,000. $900,000 total. The third tab, his bank statement, $187,000 in debt to men who didn't send collection letters. They sent people who had already visited twice. Where's my money, Derek? I'll have it, I swear. By March. March is far away. My patience isn't. Derek had 67 days to come up with $187,000. Or he'd lose more than his credit score. But $900,000 that solved everything. The debt, the mortgage, the lies to Vanessa, the custody hearing scheduled for February 8th that would expose every single secret he'd been hiding. All he needed was for Sarah to die. And the weather was going to do it for him. His phone rang. Tony Rodriguez, his brother-in-law, the mechanic. It's done, Tony said. You're sure it works? Tested it 3 times. Remote kill switch. 1 button on your phone, her engine dies. Won't restart. Looks like electrical failure. Nobody's gonna trace it. And the tracker, GPS in the wheel well. You'll know exactly where she is, every second. Derek exhaled. How much? $4,200. Cash, like we agreed. I'll bring it tomorrow. He hung up. Looked at the weather radar again. The storm would hit on January 14th. Sarah worked every Thursday night at Riverside Care Facility, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. She'd pick up the kids from the babysitter around 2:30 a.m., drive home on Highway 87. Highway 87. The deadliest stretch of road in Montana during winter. 47 miles between Great Falls and Billings with almost no cell service. No gas stations. No exits for 18 miles in the worst section. No help. If her car died at mile marker 142, right in the heart of that dead zone during a blizzard with -40 wind chill. Derek had researched hypothermia extensively. A 128-pound woman in inadequate clothing at those temperatures 45 to 90 minutes before unconsciousness. Children faster. By morning, when the plows finally came through, they'd find a tragedy. A mother who made the terrible decision to leave her car in a blizzard. Poor judgment. Devastating. But not suspicious. And Derek, he'd be the grieving ex-husband who'd tried to warn her. I begged her not to drive in that weather. She never listened. She never listened to anyone. Clean, untraceable, perfect. He opened the tracking app on his phone. Sarah's Subaru showed as a blue dot at Riverside Care Facility. Right on schedule. 22 days until the storm. 22 days until he was free. What Derek didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that his dead brother-in-law was about to reach from beyond the grave and destroy him. Jake Mitchell had been dead for 18 months. Motorcycle accident. A drunk driver crossed the center line at 2:47 a.m. on Route 12. Jake never had a chance. But before he died, Jake had made a promise. Stone, I need you to swear something. Michael Reeves. Stone to everyone in the Montana Hells Angels chapter had been Jake's best friend for 11 years. Road brothers. The kind of bond civilians never understand. Anything, brother. My sister, Sarah. If anything ever happens to me, you watch her. Derek's dangerous, I can feel it. He's never hit her, not that I know, but there's something wrong in that man. Something broken. You want me to take him out? No. I want you to watch her. Protect her. If she ever needs help, if she ever calls you, answer. Promise me. I promise, brother. Jake had died 3 weeks later, and Stone had kept his word. For 18 months, he'd driven past Sarah's apartment once a week, watched from a distance, made sure she was okay. She didn't know. Nobody knew. It was just Stone keeping a promise to a dead man. The night of December 23rd. Stone was sitting in the Montana chapter clubhouse when his phone buzzed. Who is it? Priest asked. Robert Keller, 52. Chapter president for 9 years. Nobody, just something feels wrong. Wrong how? Stone couldn't explain it. He'd been having dreams about Jake lately. Vivid dreams. In the last one, Jake had grabbed his arm and said one word, soon. I'm gonna take a ride, Stone said. Clear my head. In this cold, it's 15 degrees out there. I've ridden in worse. He fired up his Harley and rode to Sarah's apartment building. Sat across the street for 20 minutes, engine idling, watching her window. The light was on. She was home. Safe. But something still felt wrong. He pulled out his phone, almost called her. But what would he say? Hi. I'm your dead brother's best friend, and I've been stalking you for 18 months because I promised him I would. Instead, he rode home. But he didn't sleep, just stared at the ceiling, listening to Jake's voice in his head. Soon. Sarah Mitchell was not okay. She was 32 years old, working nights at a nursing home for $16.50 an hour, raising 2 children alone, and running out of ways to stay ahead of the man who wanted her dead. She didn't know about the kill switch, didn't know about the insurance policies, didn't know that her ex-husband had spent $4,200 to install a device designed to strand her in a blizzard. But she knew Derek was dangerous. She'd known it for years. 5 restraining order violations in 24 months. 5 times she'd called the police. 5 times they'd arrested him. 5 times he'd been released within 48 hours. "Ma'am, we can't hold him. He didn't actually hurt you. He was parked outside my apartment at 3 a.m. for the 5th time. That's not illegal, ma'am. He says he was just driving by. He left a note on my car. It said, 'You'll regret taking my kids.' A note isn't a threat, ma'am. Not legally. The system. The system was designed to be slow, to give the benefit of the doubt, to assume good faith. But Derek didn't have good faith. He had patience. And Sarah knew with the certainty of someone who had looked into his eyes and seen nothing there, that one day he would kill her. The only question was when. January 13th, the night before the blizzard. Sarah was folding laundry in her apartment while Lucas and Lily watched cartoons. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello." Silence. Then breathing. Slow. Deliberate. "Derek, I know it's you. I'm hanging up." "You sound tired, Sarah." His voice was calm, almost pleasant. That was always the worst part. The calm. "What do you want?" "I want to see my kids. The custody hearing is next month. I have rights." "You have a restraining order. You're not supposed to call me." "The restraining order is a piece of paper. Pieces of paper don't stop fathers from loving their children." Sarah's hand was shaking. Lucas looked up from the TV, saw her face. "Mommy, who's on the phone?" She turned away, lowered her voice. "What do you want, Derek? I want you to know that I'm watching. Always watching. And soon, very soon, things are going to change." The line went dead. Sarah stood there, phone pressed to her ear, listening to silence. Then she walked to the window and looked down at the parking lot. Nothing. No one. But she knew he was out there somewhere, waiting. "Mommy," Lucas was at her side now, tugging her sleeve. "Was that Daddy?" Sarah forced a smile. "No, sweetie, wrong number. Let's finish folding the clothes, okay?" She didn't sleep that night, just sat in the dark watching the door, listening to the wind outside. Tomorrow was going to be bad. She could feel it. She just didn't know how bad. January 14th, 7 p.m. The storm was coming. Sarah watched the weather report while getting ready for work. The meteorologist looked genuinely worried. "This is going to be a dangerous night, folks. We're looking at 14 to 18 inches of snow, wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour, and wind chills approaching negative 45 degrees. If you don't have to be on the road tonight, stay home. I can't stress this enough. Stay home." Sarah didn't have that option. She was 3 days behind on rent. Her paycheck hit at midnight. If she missed tonight's shift, she'd lose $148 she couldn't afford to lose. And Tyler had a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning, an appointment that had taken 3 months to schedule. His stomach pains were getting worse. The school nurse had noted weight loss. Sarah suspected it was stress. They'd moved 4 times in 8 months. Changed schools twice. Always running. Always looking over their shoulders. But she needed a doctor to confirm Tyler was okay. Needed documentation that she was a good mother. Needed evidence for the custody hearing that her children were thriving despite everything Derek had put them through. She couldn't miss work. Couldn't miss the appointment. Couldn't afford to let the system see any crack in her armor. "Mrs. Patterson." She was on the phone with the babysitter. "Can you keep the kids overnight, just in case the roads are too bad?" "Of course, honey. But are you sure you should be driving in this?" "I'll be careful. I've driven Highway 87 100 times." "Not in a storm like this. They're saying it could be historic." "I know. But I don't have a choice." The words tasted like ash in her mouth. How many times had she said that I don't have a choice? The anthem of every woman trying to survive on $16.50 an hour with 2 kids and an ex-husband who wanted her dead. She dropped Lucas and Lily at Mrs. Patterson's house at 5:15 p.m., knelt down to hug them both. "Be good for Mrs. Patterson, okay?" "Mommy, are you coming back tonight?" Lucas asked. His eyes were serious, too serious for a 6-year-old. "I'm going to try, baby, but if the storm gets too bad, I might stay at work. Either way, I'll see you in the morning." "Promise." Sarah hesitated. She never made promises she couldn't keep. "I promise." She kissed them both, got in her car, and drove to work. The snow was already starting to fall. 6:00 p.m., Riverside Care Facility. Sarah clocked in, started her rounds. The nursing home was quiet tonight. Half the staff had called in because of the weather. That meant more work for Sarah, but also more hours. More money. At 7:30 p.m., her phone buzzed. A text from a number she didn't recognize. "Thinking about you tonight?" She deleted it, hands trembling. At 9:15 p.m., another text. "Drive safe. The roads look dangerous." She blocked the number, but her heart was pounding. At 11:00 p.m., her supervisor Rita found her in the break room staring at her phone. "You okay, honey?" "Fine, just tired." "You sure you want to drive home tonight? The storm's getting worse. You could sleep in the staff room." Sarah shook her head. "I have to pick up the kids. Tyler has a doctor's appointment at 9 a.m. "In the morning, Sarah, the roads won't be clear by morning." "They have to be. I can't miss this appointment." Rita looked at her for a long moment. "Is everything okay? At home?" Sarah forced a smile. "Everything's fine." But everything was not fine. At 11:47 p.m., Derek Mitchell sat in his apartment watching a blue dot on his phone. The tracking app showed Sarah's location, Riverside Care Facility. She'd be leaving soon, driving to Mrs. Patterson's house, then home on Highway 87. He opened the weather radar. The storm was at its peak. Perfect whiteout conditions. He opened the kill switch app. One button in the center of the screen, disable. All he had to do was wait. At 2:07 a.m., Sarah clocked out. She was exhausted. Mrs. Henderson in room 114 had a fall, and the paperwork had taken forever. But she was done. Time to get the kids. She walked to her car, started the engine. The heater groaned to life. Her phone showed 23% battery. The charging cable had been broken for weeks. She couldn't afford a new one. She texted Mrs. Patterson, "On my way, 30 minutes." Then she pulled out of the parking lot and headed for Highway 87. At 2:23 a.m., Derek's phone buzzed. "Alert, target vehicle moving. Current location, Highway 87 East. Speed 45 mph." He watched the blue dot creep across the screen. Closer to the dead zone. Closer to mile marker 142. Closer to the stretch of highway where nobody would help her. At 2:31 a.m., Sarah picked up the kids from Mrs. Patterson's house. Lucas was half asleep. Lily clutched her stuffed rabbit, Mr. Hops. "Thank you so much, Mrs. Patterson. I'll bring them by next Thursday." "Be careful out there, honey. It's nasty." "I will." She loaded the kids into the car, cranked the heat, checked her phone. 17% battery. No messages. She pulled onto Highway 87 and headed east toward home. The snow was coming down so hard she could barely see the yellow lines. At 2:47 a.m., Sarah entered the dead zone. Mile marker 142. 18 miles of nothing ahead. 14 miles of nothing behind. Her phone showed no service, and 47 miles away, Derek Mitchell's finger hovered over a button. Disable. He pressed it. Sarah's dashboard lights flickered. The engine coughed once, twice, then died. The car coasted to the shoulder, silent, dark, dead. "Mommy," Lucas's voice from the back seat. "Why did the car stop?" Sarah tried the ignition. Nothing. Tried again. Nothing. Her phone, no service. Battery 14%. Outside, the wind screamed at 47 miles per hour. The temperature negative 38 degrees with wind chill. And Sarah Mitchell, 32 years old, mother of two, sitting in a dead car in the middle of nowhere, realized with perfect clarity that she was going to die tonight. Unless she did something impossible. Stone woke up at 2:52 a.m. with Jake's voice ringing in his head. "Now!" He sat up in bed, heart pounding. The dream had been vivid. Jake standing in front of him, grabbing his shoulders, shaking him. "Now, brother. Right now." Stone grabbed his phone. Called Sarah's number. Straight to voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones. He called Mrs. Patterson. The phone rang 6 times before she answered. "Hello." Her voice was thick with sleep. "This is Michael Reeves, Stone, Jake Mitchell's friend. Did Sarah pick up the kids tonight?" "Yes, about an hour ago. Is something wrong?" "What time did she leave?" "Around 2:30. She was heading home on Highway 87. Stone's blood went cold. Highway 87. In this storm. With the kids. "Thank you." He hung up. Started getting dressed. Called Priest. "Do you know what time it is?" "Sarah's in trouble. Jake's sister. Highway 87. She should have been home by now. Phone's going to voicemail." Silence on the other end. "You sure?" "I'm sure. I can feel it, Priest. Jake's telling me. Something's wrong." Another pause. Then, "How many brothers can we get on the road in 30 minutes? Stone was already pulling on his boots. "For Jake's sister, all of them." "I'll make the calls. Where do we meet?" "Mile marker 120, Highway 87. We'll sweep east from there." He hung up and walked outside into the blizzard. The wind hit him like a fist. Visibility was maybe 30 feet. The snow was coming down sideways. And somewhere out there, Sarah Mitchell was dying. Stone fired up his Harley and rode into the storm. In 47 minutes, 94 Hells Angels would converge on Highway 87. In 52 minutes, they would find Sarah's empty car. In 67 minutes, Stone would discover a woman crawling through the snow with 2 children in her arms. But first, Sarah Mitchell had to make a choice. A choice that would cost her 2 toes, 1 finger, and nearly her life. A choice that would save her children. A choice that 500 Hells Angels would honor with blood. Sarah sat in the dead car for exactly 47 seconds before she understood. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't bad luck. This wasn't the universe being cruel. This was Derek. She didn't know how, didn't know the details. But she knew. The same way she'd always known when he was watching. The same way she'd known years ago that the man she married was capable of something terrible. "Mommy," Lucas's voice trembled from the back seat. "Why won't the car start?" Sarah turned around. Her son's face was barely visible in the darkness, but she could see the fear in his eyes. Lily was still half asleep, clutching Mr. Hops, unaware that anything was wrong. "The car is broken, baby, but it's okay. Mommy's going to fix it." She tried the ignition again. Nothing. Again. Nothing. The dashboard was completely dark. No lights. No power. Nothing. Her phone showed 14% battery, no service. She opened the door. The wind nearly ripped it from her hand. The cold hit her like a physical blow, stealing the breath from her lungs. She stumbled to the hood, tried to open it. Her fingers were already going numb. She didn't know what she was looking for. She wasn't a mechanic, but she had to try something. The hood wouldn't open. The latch was frozen solid. Sarah stood there in the howling wind, snow pelting her face, and did the math. The temperature inside the car was maybe 50 degrees. It would drop to 40 in 20 minutes, to 30 in an hour. By 5 a.m., the car would be the same temperature as outside, -38 with wind chill. The kids wouldn't survive until morning. She wouldn't survive until morning. The nearest exit was 11.3 miles ahead. Behind her, 14.7 miles. 11.3 miles. In a blizzard. With 2 children. It was impossible. But staying here was death. Sarah got back in the car, looked at her children. Lucas was watching her with those 2 serious eyes. "Mommy, are we going to be okay?" Sarah took a breath, made a decision. "We're going on an adventure," she said. "Right now, in the snow." "But it's cold." "I know, baby, but Mommy's going to keep you warm. I need you to be brave for me. Can you be brave?" Lucas nodded slowly. "I can be brave. That's my boy." Sarah pulled off her winter coat, the heavy one she'd bought at Goodwill for $12, and wrapped it around Lucas. It swallowed him, hung past his knees. "Mommy, you need your coat." "Mommy's fine. Mommy's warm inside because she loves you so much." She grabbed the emergency blanket from under the seat, a thin silver thing that had been there since she bought the car, and wrapped it around Lily. The little girl stirred. "Mommy, where are we going?" "On an adventure, sweetheart. We're going to walk through the snow like explorers." "I don't want to walk. I'm tired." "I know, baby. Mommy's going to carry you. Just close your eyes and hold Mr. Hops." Sarah picked up Lily, settling her against her hip. The child weighed 37 pounds. Not heavy, not yet. "Lucas, I need you to climb on my back. Hold on tight around my neck. Don't let go no matter what." "Okay, Mommy." He climbed on. 48 pounds. Combined with Lily, she was carrying 85 pounds. Sarah took one last look at the car, at the phone with no service, at the darkness beyond the windows. Then she opened the door and stepped into the blizzard. The cold was beyond anything she'd ever experienced. It wasn't just temperature, it was violence. The wind tore at her clothes, drove ice into her eyes, tried to rip the children from her arms. She couldn't see more than 20 feet. The road was invisible under the snow. The only way she knew which direction to walk was the guardrail, a faint dark line against the white. She started walking. 1 step. 2 steps. 10 steps. "Mommy, I'm cold." "I know, baby. Keep your face in my coat. Breathe into the fabric." 20 steps. 50 steps. 100 steps. Her boots were filling with snow. Her jeans were already wet. The thin sweater she wore under the coat was no protection at all. But she kept walking. Because that's what mothers do. They walk into the impossible. 200 steps. Her arms were burning. Her back screamed. Lily was getting heavier with every second. "Mommy, are we almost there? Almost, baby. Almost." She had no idea how far she'd gone. It's a quarter mile. Less. The snow made it impossible to tell. Behind her, invisible in the darkness, the car was already disappearing under a blanket of white. And somewhere out there, the cavalry was coming. Stone was 23 miles away, riding his Harley through a blizzard at 45 miles per hour. Insane. Suicidal. But he didn't care. His phone buzzed against his chest. He pulled over, checked the screen. Text from priest. 47 brothers mobilized. Where are you? Mile marker 125, heading east. Any word? Nothing. Her phone's still off. Stone shoved the phone back in his pocket and kept riding. Behind him, the Montana chapter was converging, headlights cutting through the white. 47 motorcycles, then 62, then 89, all heading for Highway 87. At the clubhouse, phones were ringing off the hook. What's going on? Jake's sister? She's stranded on 87. Storm's bad. I'm in. It's -40 out there. I said I'm in. The Wyoming chapter called at 3:15 a.m. We heard. How many do you need? All of you. We're 90 minutes out. Then ride fast. The Idaho chapter called at 3:22 a.m. Word's spreading. We've got 140 brothers ready to move. Wait for daylight. If we don't find her by then, we'll need the numbers. By 3:30 a.m., 94 motorcycles were spread across Highway 87, sweeping east from mile marker 120. And Sarah Mitchell had walked exactly 1.3 miles. Her legs were going numb. The shaking had started violent, uncontrollable tremors that made it hard to hold the children. Mommy, you're shaking. I'm fine, Lucas. Just excited about our adventure. She wasn't fine. She was entering the first stage of hypothermia. Her body was burning calories at triple the normal rate, desperately trying to maintain core temperature. She had maybe 45 minutes before she couldn't walk anymore. She picked up the pace. The wind shifted, driving directly into her face. Snow caked her eyelashes, her eyebrows, the scarf wrapped around her neck. She couldn't feel her fingers, couldn't feel her ears, could barely feel her feet. But she kept walking. Mommy, I'm scared. Don't be scared, baby. Mommy's here. Mommy's always going to be here. Promise? Promise. The word came out slurred. Her lips were going numb. 1.7 miles, 2.1 miles, 2.4 miles. Time was becoming meaningless. There was only the next step, and the next, and the next. Lily had stopped talking. That was bad. Sarah jostled her. Lily, Lily, wake up. Tired, Mommy. I know, baby, but I need you to stay awake. Can you sing with me? You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Lily's voice was a whisper. You make me happy. When skies are gray. That's it, baby. Keep singing. They sang together, voices barely audible above the wind. Sarah's words were slurring worse now. The cold was winning. 2.9 miles. Her boot caught on something, a rock, a piece of ice, she couldn't tell, and she went down. She twisted as she fell, protecting the children, taking the impact on her shoulder and hip. The snow was soft, but the cold was savage, soaking immediately through her clothes. Mommy, I'm okay. I'm okay. She struggled to get up. Couldn't. Her legs wouldn't cooperate. Mommy, get up. I'm trying, baby. She got to her knees, then one foot, then the other, standing. Barely. Lucas was crying now, silent tears freezing on his cheeks. Mommy, please. I'm scared. Sarah looked at her son, really looked at him. His lips were blue, his body was shaking. He was dying. They were all dying. And in that moment, Sarah Mitchell made the decision that would haunt every nurse who treated her. The decision that would save her children's lives. The decision that would cost her 2 toes and a finger. She set the children down. Lucas, I need you to stand still for 1 second. Mommy. She pulled off her sweater, her last layer. The cold hit her exposed skin like 1,000 knives. Mommy, what are you doing? She wrapped the sweater around Lucas's head and hands covering every inch of exposed skin. You need this baby. More than me. But you'll freeze. No, I won't. I'm going to run. Running keeps you warm. She looked at her boots. They were frozen solid, filled with ice, actually making the frostbite worse. She pulled them off, ripped out the liners, wrapped them around Lily's feet. Mommy, your feet? My feet are fine. I'm going to run, remember. Running keeps your feet warm. It was a lie. But it was a beautiful lie. Sarah picked up both children again, Lily against her chest, Lucas on her back, and she started to run, barefoot, in the snow, in negative 38-degree wind chill, wearing nothing but a sports bra above the waist. She ran because running generates heat. Running keeps blood flowing. Running means life for 5 more minutes, then 5 more, then 5 more. The pain in her feet was excruciating, like running on broken glass, on fire, on nothing at all. But she ran. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. The words came out as breath, now barely formed, but she kept singing. 3.4 miles. 3.8 miles. Her body was starting to shut down. The shaking had stopped, a bad sign, the worst sign. It meant her body had given up trying to warm itself. But her legs kept moving. Some primitive part of her brain had taken over the part that didn't know how to quit the part that would walk until her heart stopped. 4.1 miles. A light. Through the snow. A light. Was she hallucinating? Hypothermia caused hallucinations. She'd learned that in nursing school, but the light was getting brighter, and there was a sound. A rumble. Motorcycles. Stone saw her first. A shape in the headlight beam. Moving. Wrong. Wrong shape, wrong movement, something crawling. He slammed on the brakes, nearly went down on the ice, jumped off the bike before it stopped. Sarah. She looked up. Her face was gray. Her lips were almost white. Her skin was covered in ice. But she was conscious. Somehow. Impossibly. Stone. Her voice was barely a whisper. Jake's friend. I've got you. I've got the kids. He tried to take Lily from her arms. Sarah's grip wouldn't release. Sarah, you have to let go. Can't let go. He'll take them. Who'll take them? Derek. He did this. Don't let him take them. Her eyes rolled back. She collapsed. Stone caught her before she hit the ground. The children tumbled into the snow, still wrapped in their layers, crying. Priest Doc, over here. 3 motorcycles roared up. Priest was off his bike first, then Doc James Chen, the Hell's Angel, who also happened to be an emergency room physician. Jesus Christ. Doc knelt beside Sarah. How long has she been out here? I don't know. Hour more. She's severely hypothermic. Core temps probably in the mid-80s. We need to get her warm now. Hospital. Too far. She won't make it. We need to start rewarming here. Stone stripped off his leather cut, his jacket, his shirt, wrapped them around Sarah's frozen body. Skin-to-skin contact. Best way to transfer heat. She's not conscious, Doc. She doesn't need to be conscious. She needs to be warm. Priest was on his phone. I need an ambulance at mile marker 147, Highway 87. 3 patients, severe hypothermia. 1 adult female, 2 children. This is life or death, do you understand me? Life or death. The kids were screaming now, terrified by the bikers, by the cold, by their mother lying motionless in the snow. Lucas broke free from the brother holding him. Ran to Sarah. Mommy! Mommy, wake up! Stone grabbed him, held him close. She's going to be okay, buddy. The doctor's helping her. She's not moving. Why isn't she moving? She's very cold, but we're going to warm her up. She's going to be fine. Promise. Stone looked at Sarah's gray face, at her frozen feet already turning black at the edges. Promise. Another lie. Another beautiful lie. The ambulance arrived 23 minutes later. The longest 23 minutes of Stone's life. Doc had kept Sarah alive through sheer force of will. CPR twice when her heart stuttered. Constant monitoring. Screaming at the other brothers to bring every jacket, every blanket, every piece of fabric they had. When the paramedics loaded her into the ambulance, her body temperature was 84.6 degrees. 3 more degrees, and she would have been dead. Stone rode beside the ambulance all the way to St. Michael's Hospital. 52 miles in a blizzard. He never lost sight of those flashing lights. Behind him, 94 brothers followed in formation. And 47 miles in the other direction, Derek Mitchell sat in his apartment watching the tracking app. Sarah's car hadn't moved in 2 hours. He smiled. By morning it would all be over. The police would find the car, find the bodies, find a tragedy. He opened his phone, rehearsed his lines. "Officers, I'm devastated. I begged her not to drive in that weather. She never listened. She never listened to anyone." Then he poured himself a drink and went to bed. He didn't know that his wife was still alive. He didn't know that 94 Hell's Angels had just pulled into St. Michael's Hospital. He didn't know that by sunrise 500 brothers would swear an oath over Sarah Mitchell's hospital bed. But he would find out. And when he did, he would learn exactly what happens when you try to murder the sister of a Hell's Angel. At 3:17 a.m., Sarah Mitchell was wheeled into the emergency room at St. Michael's Hospital. Her body temperature 84.6 degrees, her heart rate 42 beats per minute, her blood oxygen 81%. The trauma team took one look and started running. "Get warming blankets, core temps critical, BP's dropping, I need access now. Kids are hypothermic but stable, send them to pediatric ICU." Stone stood in the waiting room with Priest and Doc watching through the glass as doctors swarmed around Sarah's body. "She was out there for almost 2 hours, Doc said quietly. "Barefoot, in that cold. I don't know how she's still alive." "She's a mother," Priest said. "That's how." Stone said nothing, just stared at Sarah's gray face, willing her to live. At 3:23 a.m., her heart stopped. Stone watched through the glass as the doctors grabbed the paddles, watched them shock her once, twice, 3 times, watched her flatline for 11 seconds, then a blip. Another, a rhythm. She was back. "Jesus," Doc breathed. "She came back." "She's not done yet," Stone said. "She's got kids to raise." By 4:00 a.m., Sarah was stable. Critical, but stable. She was in a medically induced coma while they slowly raised her body temperature. The kids were in the pediatric ICU, being treated for moderate hypothermia. Lucas had frostbite on 3 fingers. Lily's feet were damaged, but recoverable. They were alive. All 3 of them. Because a mother had walked 4.8 miles barefoot through a blizzard. Because she had stripped off her own clothes to keep her children warm. Because Stone had woken up to his dead best friend's voice and rode into the storm. At 4:15 a.m., Detective Marcus Webb arrived at the hospital. 27 years on the force, he'd seen everything. He'd never seen 94 bikers in a hospital waiting room at 4 in the morning. "Which one of you found her?" Stone stepped forward. "I did." "Want to tell me what happened?" "Her car died on Highway 87. She walked, with the kids. Walked in that storm, 4.8 miles, barefoot. She took off her clothes to wrap the children. Webb was quiet for a moment. That's not possible. And yet here we are. How do you know where to find her? Stone hesitated. Her brother was my best friend. He died 18 months ago. Before he died, he made me promise to watch out for her. You just happened to be watching tonight. I had a feeling. Can't explain it better than that. Webb studied him. Cop instincts. He knew when someone was lying. Stone wasn't lying. The car, Webb said. What happened to it? Still on the highway. Mile marker 142. Engine trouble. She said something before she passed out. Said her husband did this. Derek Mitchell. Webb's eyes sharpened. She said that specifically. Her exact words were, Derek did this. Don't let him take them. You're sure? I'm sure. Webb wrote something in his notebook. I'm going to need to talk to her when she wakes up. In the meantime, don't go anywhere. Wasn't planning to. Webb left. Stone turned to Priest. I want eyes on Derek Mitchell. Now. Already done. Chains and razor are parked outside his apartment. Good. If he moves, I want to know about it. What are you thinking? Stone looked back toward the ICU, where Sarah's children were sleeping. I'm thinking her car didn't just break down. I'm thinking someone wanted her dead. And I'm thinking Jake didn't wake me up at 2:52 in the morning for no reason. Priest nodded slowly. What do you want to do? Whatever it takes. At 6:47 a.m., Derek Mitchell's phone rang. Hello? Mr. Mitchell. This is Detective Marcus Webb with the Helena Police Department. I'm calling about your ex-wife, Sarah Mitchell. Derek felt his heart stop, then restart. This was it. The call, the one he'd been waiting for. He made his voice crack. Sarah, oh God, what happened? Are the kids okay? Mr. Mitchell, there was an incident on Highway 87 last night. Your ex-wife's car broke down during the storm. Oh no. No. I told her not to drive in that weather. I begged her. Mr. Mitchell, are they dead? Please tell me. I can take it. Are my babies dead? He was crying now. Real tears. He'd practiced this. Mr. Mitchell, your ex-wife and children are alive. They're at St. Michael's Hospital. Silence. Derek's tears stopped. They're alive. Yes, sir. Mrs. Mitchell walked nearly 5 miles through the blizzard with your children. She's in critical condition, but stable. She walked. Yes, sir. I'd like to ask you some questions about last night. Where were you between 2 and 4 a.m.? Derek's mind was racing. They were alive. How were they alive? Nobody survives that. Nobody. Mr. Mitchell, I was home. In my apartment. Sleeping. Can anyone verify that? No, I live alone. I see. Mr. Mitchell, would you be willing to come down to the station, just to answer a few questions? Am I under arrest? No, sir. We just have some questions about your ex-wife's vehicle. Routine stuff. Derek's hand was shaking. Of course. Of course I'll come. When? How about 10 a.m.? I'll be there. He hung up. Stared at the phone. They were alive. His wife, his problem that was supposed to solve itself, was alive. He grabbed his laptop, opened the tracking app. Sarah's car was still showing at mile marker 142. But there was another notification. One he'd missed in his sleep. 3:17 a.m. Emergency services detected near target vehicle. Someone had found her. Someone had saved her. Derek's mind raced. He had to think, had to plan. The kill switch. Could they trace it? Tony had said it was clean. But what if his phone buzzed? Text from an unknown number. "We know what you did." Derek's blood went cold. He walked to the window, looked down at the parking lot. 2 motorcycles. Hell's Angels patches. They were watching him, and for the first time in months, Derek Mitchell felt something he thought he'd forgotten how to feel. Fear. Derek's hands wouldn't stop shaking. He stood at his apartment window staring at the 2 motorcycles below. They hadn't moved in 3 hours. Just sitting there, watching. His phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. "Jake says hello." Derek dropped the phone like it burned him. Jake. Sarah's brother. The Hell's Angel who died 18 months ago. How did they know? How could they possibly know? He grabbed his keys. He needed to get out, needed to think, needed to... His phone rang. Tony Rodriguez. "Derek, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The cops just left my shop. They were asking about your ex-wife's car, about electrical work, about kill switches." Derek's stomach dropped. "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. I told them nothing." But Derek, they knew. They knew exactly what to ask about. Someone tipped them off. Who? I don't know. But there's more. There are bikers outside my house. 2 of them. Just sitting there. Derek looked down at the parking lot. The 2 motorcycles were still there. "They're outside my place too." "What the hell did you do, Derek? You told me this was just a tracking device. You told me, shut up, just shut up and let me think. Think. The cops are asking about attempted murder. Do you understand what that means? They can't prove anything. The device is clean. You said it yourself." "I said it looked clean. I didn't say it was untraceable. Derek, if they pull that car apart, if they find the switch, if they trace it back to me, they won't." "How do you know?" "Because I'm going to fix this." Derek hung up. His mind was racing. The police interview was in 2 hours. He needed a story, a good one. He opened his laptop, started typing notes. "I was worried about her. I tried to call her. She never answered. I didn't know anything about the car. But even as he typed, he knew it wasn't enough. Sarah was alive. She could talk. She could tell them everything. He had to get to the hospital. Derek grabbed his coat and walked to the door, opened it. Stone was standing in the hallway. "Going somewhere." Derek stumbled backward. "How did you get in here?" "Building manager let me in. Seemed very cooperative when I explained who I was." Stone stepped inside, closed the door behind him. "We need to talk. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. They'll be very interested to hear what I have to say." Derek's hand hovered over his phone. "What do you want?" "I want to understand something." Stone moved closer, his eyes never leaving Derek's face. "Your wife's car breaks down in the worst storm in 15 years, middle of nowhere, no cell service, with your kids in the back seat. It's tragic. I'm devastated." "You don't look devastated. You look scared." "I'm scared for my children." "They're fine. Your wife saved them, walked 5 miles barefoot in -40 wind chill, stripped off her own clothes to keep them warm." Stone was inches away now. "But you already knew they were out there, didn't you?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "The tracking app on your phone, the one that shows exactly where Sarah's car is at all times, the one that showed you exactly where she was when her engine died." Derek's face went white. I don't have a tracking app. Tony Rodriguez says different. Tony's lying. Tony's terrified. There's a difference." Stone grabbed Derek by the collar, slammed him against the wall. "I'm going to ask you one time. Did you try to kill Sarah and those kids?" "No. Wrong answer." Stone's fist connected with Derek's stomach. Derek doubled over, gasping. "Did you try to kill them?" I didn't do anything." Another punch. Derek fell to his knees. Jake Mitchell was my brother. Sarah is his sister. Those kids are his niece and nephew. Do you understand what that means? Derek was crying now. Please, please. It means I made a promise to protect them, and I don't break promises. Stone crouched down, grabbed Derek's chin, forced him to look up. The police are going to figure this out. The device in her car, the insurance policies, the tracking app. They're going to put it all together. And when they do, you're going to prison for the rest of your miserable life. You can't prove anything. I don't have to prove anything. The police will do that. I just have to make sure you don't run. Stone stood up. There are 500 brothers who know your name now. 500. Every Hell's Angel from Montana to Colorado. You can't hide. You can't run. You can't disappear. Wherever you go, we'll find you. Derek was sobbing. What do you want from me? I want you to sit in your apartment and wait for the cops to come. I want you to think about what you did. I want you to imagine spending the next 25 years in a cell, knowing that even when you get out, we'll still be watching. Stone walked to the door. Jake says hello. From wherever he is, he's watching too. The door closed. Derek lay on the floor, crying, bleeding, broken. And for the first time in his life, he understood what real fear felt like. At 9:47 a.m., Sarah Mitchell opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was white. White ceiling. White walls. White sheets. For a moment she thought she was still in the snow. Still walking. Still dying. Then she heard the beeping. Heart monitor. IV pump. Hospital sounds. She was alive. Mommy. Sarah turned her head. Lucas was sitting in a chair beside her bed, his hands wrapped in bandages. Lucas. Her voice was barely a whisper. Baby. You're awake. He jumped up, grabbed her hand. The doctor said you might not wake up, but I knew you would. I knew it. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. Where's Lily? She's okay. She's in the other room with the nice nurse. Her feet are hurt, but the doctor says she's going to be fine. And you, your hands. Lucas looked at his bandages. Frostbite. But the doctor says I'm going to keep all my fingers. He says I'm lucky. You're not lucky, baby. You're brave. The bravest boy I've ever known. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Mitchell, you're awake. I need to get the doctor. Wait. Sarah's voice was weak but urgent. The man who found us. Is he here? There are quite a few men here, Mrs. Mitchell. About 200 of them, actually. 200 Hell's Angels. They've been here all night. They won't leave until they know you're okay. Sarah closed her eyes. Jake. Her brother. Even dead, he was still protecting her. There's one. Tall. Gray beard. He was the one who found us. That would be Stone. He's in the waiting room. Hasn't slept since they brought you in. Can I see him? Let me get the doctor first. Then we'll see. The nurse disappeared. Sarah looked at Lucas. Baby, I need to tell you something. About what happened. I know, Mommy. The car broke down. No, baby. The car didn't just break down. Someone made it break down. Lucas's eyes went wide. Who? Sarah hesitated. How do you tell a 6-year-old that his father tried to murder him? Someone who wanted to hurt us. But we're safe now. The police are going to find them. And those men outside, the ones with the motorcycles, they're going to make sure nobody ever hurts us again. Are they Uncle Jake's friends? Yes, baby. They're Uncle Jake's friends. Lucas nodded slowly. Uncle Jake used to tell me that if I ever needed help, I should find the men with the motorcycles. He said they were family. Sarah pulled her son close, ignoring the pain in her arms, her feet everywhere. He was right, baby. They are family. At 10:15 a.m., Detective Webb arrived at Derek Mitchell's apartment for the scheduled interview. Derek wasn't there. "Check the building," Webb told his partner. "He might be hiding." They searched for 20 minutes. Nothing. Webb called dispatch. "I need an APB on Derek Mitchell. White male, 38 years old, 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. Consider him a flight risk." "Copy that, detective. What's the charge?" "Person of interest in an attempted homicide." He hung up, looked at his partner. He ran. "Where?" "I don't know, but I know someone who might." Webb drove to St. Michael's Hospital. Found Stone in the waiting room, surrounded by leather cuts and tattoos. "You talked to Derek Mitchell this morning." Stone didn't flinch. "Who says?" "The building security camera. You were in that hallway for 11 minutes. "I was just having a conversation." "About what?" "About his wife, about the weather, about the importance of honesty." Webb stepped closer. "He's in the wind now. Missed our appointment. If you know where he is, I don't." "But your brothers might," Stone smiled. "Detective, I have 500 brothers between here and the Mexican border. If Derek Mitchell so much as buys a cup of coffee, I'll know about it." "That sounds like vigilante justice. That sounds like concerned citizens keeping their eyes open." Stone stood up. "I want him caught more than you do, but I want him caught legally. I want him to stand trial. I want him to spend the next 25 years rotting in a cell knowing exactly why he's there. And if he doesn't get caught legally," Stone's eyes went cold, "then we'll have a different conversation." Webb held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "If you hear anything, you'll be my first call, detective." Webb turned to leave, then stopped. "For what it's worth, what she did out there, your friend's sister, that's the bravest thing I've seen in 27 years on the force." "I know. She's lucky to be alive. Luck had nothing to do with it." Stone looked toward the ICU. Her brother made sure of that. At 11:32 a.m., Tony Rodriguez walked into the Helena police station. "I want to make a statement." The desk sergeant looked up. "About what?" "About Derek Mitchell. About what he paid me to do to his wife's car." "Wait here." 20 minutes later, Tony was in an interrogation room with Detective Webb. "Start from the beginning." Tony's hands were shaking. 3 weeks ago, Derek came to my shop. Said he needed a favor. A tracking device for his ex-wife's car. Just a tracking device. That's what he said at first. But then he asked about something else. A kill switch. Remote-controlled. Something that could disable the engine without leaving a trace. "And you installed it." Yes, I installed it." "Did you know what he was planning?" Tony looked down at his hands. "I suspected, but I didn't want to believe it. He's my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. Was her husband. You knew he was going to use it to strand her in the blizzard." "No, I swear I didn't know the details. He just said he needed insurance. Said she was trying to take his kids to Canada. Said he needed to be able to stop her if she ran." "And you believed him?" Tony was crying now. "I wanted to believe him. Because the alternative was that I helped him try to murder 3 people, including 2 kids." Webb slid a piece of paper across the table. "This is a full confession. Everything you just told me in writing. You sign this and the DA might be willing to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" "Accessory charges instead of conspiracy to commit murder. 5 to 7 years instead of 20. Tony stared at the paper. "He's going to kill me. If he finds out I talked, he's not going to find out. And even if he does where he's going, he won't be able to hurt anyone. Tony picked up the pen. His hand was shaking so badly he could barely write. But he signed. At 2:15 p.m., Derek Mitchell's credit card was used at a gas station 47 miles south of Helena. Stone's phone buzzed with the alert. Got him. Route 287 heading toward Yellowstone. Priest looked up. How many brothers do we have in that area? 32. I already made the call. They're setting up a perimeter. Don't spook him. We need the cops to make the arrest. I know, but if he tries to run again, then we'll handle it. Stone grabbed his helmet. I'm going. You've been up for 36 hours. I'll sleep when he's in handcuffs. He walked outside. The parking lot was filled with motorcycles. 247 bikes at last count, with more arriving every hour. Word had spread. The Hells Angels network stretched across the entire western United States. When one of their own was threatened, they mobilized. Sarah wasn't a Hells Angel, but she was Jake's sister. And that made her family. Stone fired up his Harley and headed south. Derek saw the first motorcycle at 3:47 p.m. It was behind him on Route 287, about a quarter-mile back. Just one bike. Could have been anyone. But Derek knew better. He sped up. The motorcycle matched his speed. He took a random exit. The motorcycle followed. He pulled into a fast food parking lot. The motorcycle parked across the street. They weren't trying to catch him. They were herding him, playing with him like a cat plays with a mouse. Derek's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Hello, Derek. Who is this? You know who this is? Stone's voice. Calm. Almost friendly. Leave me alone. I can't do that. You tried to kill 3 people. One of them was my best friend's sister. The other 2 were children. I didn't do anything. Tony Rodriguez signed a confession 2 hours ago. He told the police everything. The kill switch, the tracking device, the money you paid him. It's over, Derek. Derek's hands were shaking on the steering wheel. What do you want? I want you to turn yourself in. Drive to the nearest police station. Walk inside. Confess. And if I don't, then we'll keep following you. Everywhere you go. Every gas station, every motel, every rest stop. You'll never sleep. Never eat. Never be alone. Until the cops catch up with you, or you make a mistake. That's harassment. That's justice. Derek looked in his rearview mirror. There were 3 motorcycles now, all keeping the same distance. How many of you are there? Right now, 37. By tonight, over 100. By tomorrow morning, we'll have every road in Montana covered. You can't do this. We already are. Derek closed his eyes. He thought about running. Mexico, maybe, or Canada. But Stone was right. They would follow him everywhere. And eventually he would make a mistake. If I turn myself in, will you leave me alone? You'll go to prison, Derek. That's the deal. You confess you go to prison and we let the system do its job. And when I get out, that's 25 years away. A lot can happen in 25 years. Stone paused. But I'll tell you this. If you ever try to contact Sarah or those kids again, there won't be a trial. There won't be a prison sentence. There will just be a very quiet burial in a very remote location. Do you understand? Derek was crying. Yes. Turn yourself in, Derek. It's the only way this ends without blood. The line went dead. Derek sat in his car for 17 minutes, watching the motorcycles, thinking about his options. He didn't have any options. At 4:23 p.m., Derek Mitchell walked into the Bozeman police station and surrendered. My name is Derek Mitchell. I tried to kill my ex-wife and my children. I want to confess. The desk sergeant stared at him for a long moment. then picked up the phone. "Detective Webb, you're going to want to hear this." At 6:47 p.m., Sarah Mitchell received the news. "He's in custody," Stone said. "Turned himself in this afternoon. Full confession." Sarah was sitting up in her hospital bed now, Lily asleep beside her, Lucas playing a video game in the corner. It's really over. It's really over. She started crying. Not the quiet tears she'd trained herself to shed over the years. Real crying. Ugly crying. The kind of crying you do when you've been holding everything inside for so long that when it finally breaks loose, it takes everything with it. Stone sat down beside her bed, took her hand. "Jake would be proud of you," he said. "What you did out there, I've never seen anything like it. I just did what any mother would do. No, you did what no mother should ever have to do, and you survived. Your kids survived. Because of you." Sarah wiped her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you, all of you." "You don't have to thank us. You're family. I barely know you." "Doesn't matter. Jake loved you. Loved. That makes you family. For life." Stone squeezed her hand. "When you get out of here, you're going to need help. Rebuilding. Healing. Whatever you need, we're here. 500 brothers, all of them willing to do whatever it takes. Why I'm nobody? You're Jake's sister. That's not nobody." Stone stood up. "Get some rest. The trial's going to be tough, but when it's over, we're going to celebrate. The whole chapter, and you're going to be there." He walked to the door, stopped. "Sarah, yeah. Those kids are lucky to have you." Then he was gone. Sarah looked down at Lily, sleeping peacefully. Looked at Lucas, focused on his game. They were alive. She was alive. Derek was in jail. And somewhere out there, 500 men on motorcycles were watching, making sure it stayed that way. The trial began on March 15th. Sarah had spent the previous 8 weeks healing. Not just her body, though, that took time. 2 toes amputated from her right foot. 1 finger from her left hand. Nerve damage that would never fully heal. She would walk with a limp for the rest of her life. But she would walk. The morning of the first day, she stood in front of her bathroom mirror, staring at herself. The woman looking back was different from the one who had walked into that blizzard. Harder, older, but alive. Her phone buzzed. Text from Stone. "We're outside. Whenever you're ready." She looked out the window. 47 motorcycles lined the street. Not threatening, just present. Lucas appeared in the doorway. "Mommy, are you scared?" Sarah turned to her son. In the weeks since that night, he had changed too. More serious, more protective. He slept with a baseball bat next to his bed now, even though Stone had assured him that nobody would ever hurt them again. "A little," she admitted. "Are you—" Lucas shook his head. "No, because the bad guy is going to jail, and Uncle Jake's friends are going to make sure he stays there." Sarah knelt down, pulled him close. "When did you get so brave?" "I learned it from you." She kissed his forehead. "Let's go." The courthouse was packed. Word had spread about the case. A mother who walked 5 miles barefoot through a blizzard to save her children. A husband who tried to murder his own family for insurance money. Hell's Angels who mobilized 500 strong to hunt him down. It was the kind of story that captured the nation's attention. Sarah walked into the courtroom flanked by Stone and Priest. Behind them, 43 brothers filled the gallery. The rest waited outside, too many to fit inside the building. Derek was already at the defense table wearing an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of him. He looked smaller than Sarah remembered. Thinner. The months in jail had not been kind to him. Their eyes met. Sarah felt nothing. No fear. No anger. just emptiness. This man had been her husband, the father of her children, and he had tried to kill them all for money. She took her seat. Stone sat beside her close enough that their shoulders touched. "You okay?" he whispered. "No, but I will be." The judge entered. Patricia Hawkins, 62 years old, 28 years on the bench, known for being fair but merciless with violent offenders. Court is now in session. The state of Montana versus Derek Allen Mitchell. 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder. 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. 1 count of insurance fraud. Derek's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client wishes to change his plea." Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. From guilty to not guilty. Judge Hawkins raised an eyebrow. "Yes, Your Honor. My client was coerced into his confession by members of a motorcycle gang. His rights were violated. Any statement he made should be inadmissible." Stone's jaw tightened. Sarah put her hand on his arm. "Don't," she whispered. "Let the system work." The prosecutor, Amanda Chen, rose to her feet. "Your Honor, the defendant's confession was given voluntarily at a police station. He was read his rights. He waived his right to an attorney. He confessed in detail on camera for over 2 hours. There was no coercion. My client was followed by dozens of bikers for hours before surrendering. He feared for his life. Being followed on public roads is not coercion, Your Honor. The defendant turned himself in because he knew the evidence against him was overwhelming, not because anyone threatened him." Judge Hawkins was silent for a long moment. "Motion to suppress denied. The defendant's confession will stand. How does the defendant plead?" Derek's lawyer leaned close, whispered something. Derek shook his head. More whispering. Finally, Derek stood. "Not guilty, Your Honor." Sarah closed her eyes. So that's how it was going to be. He was going to fight. "Very well." Judge Hawkins made a note. "Jury selection will begin this afternoon. This trial will proceed." The next 3 weeks were brutal. Derek's defense was simple. He had installed the tracking device because he was worried about his children. The kill switch had been Tony Rodriguez's idea, not his. He had never intended for anyone to get hurt. "My client is a concerned father," his lawyer argued. "A man going through a difficult divorce, a man who made mistakes, but not a murderer." The prosecutor systematically dismantled every argument. First, she called Tony Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, who approached whom about installing the kill switch. Tony wouldn't look at Derek. "He approached me, Derek. He asked if I could install something that would disable the engine remotely." "Did he explain why?" "He said it was insurance, said his wife was threatening to take the kids to Canada." "Did he specifically ask for a device that could be triggered remotely during any conditions?" "Yes." "Even during a storm?" Yes. He specifically asked about weather conditions. He wanted to know if the device would work in extreme cold. Why would that matter if he was just worried about his wife running? Tony was silent. "Answer the question, Mr. Rodriguez." Because he wanted it to work during the winter, during a storm. He said the weather would cover his tracks." Gasps from the gallery. "No further questions." Then the prosecutor called the insurance investigator. "Mr. Thompson, can you tell the court about the life insurance policies the defendant took out on his wife and children?" "Yes. Between August and November of last year, the defendant purchased policies totaling $900,000, $600,000 on his wife, $150,000 on each child." Is it common for a divorced father to take out life insurance on his ex-wife and children? Extremely uncommon. In fact, most insurance companies require the insured party's consent. In this case, the defendant forged his wife's signature. Forged. Yes. We had a handwriting expert analyze the signatures. They don't match Mrs. Mitchell's handwriting. They match the defendant's. Derek's face went pale. No further questions. Then, on day 12, Sarah took the stand. The courtroom was silent as she walked to the witness chair. Her limp was visible. The missing finger on her left hand was visible. The cost of surviving was written on her body. Mrs. Mitchell, the prosecutor began gently. Can you describe your relationship with the defendant? Sarah looked at Derek for the first time since the trial began. He was my husband for 7 years. He's the father of my children. When did things change? After Jake died, my brother. He was a hell's angel. Jake always suspected something was wrong with Derek. He told me once before he died that Derek scared him, that there was something broken inside him. Objection. Derek's lawyer was on his feet. Hearsay. Sustained. The jury will disregard, but they couldn't unhear it. Mrs. Mitchell, when did you first feel afraid of the defendant? The first time he hit me. More gasps. When was that? 3 years ago. We were arguing about money. He slapped me across the face. Did you report it? No, I was ashamed. I thought it was my fault. Did it happen again? Many times. But he was careful. Never left marks where people could see. Why didn't you leave? Sarah's voice cracked. Because I was afraid. Because he said if I ever tried to leave, he would take the kids. He would make sure I never saw them again. But you eventually did leave. Yes. After Jake died. Jake made me promise I would leave if things got worse. And they got worse. So I left. How did the defendant respond? He was furious. He started showing up at my apartment at all hours, leaving notes on my car, calling me dozens of times a day. I got a restraining order. Did he respect the restraining order? No. He violated it 5 times. The police arrested him twice, but he was always released within 48 hours. Were you afraid for your life? Every single day. Can you describe what happened on the night of January 14th? Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been dreading. I was driving home from work. The storm was bad, but I'd driven that road 100 times. The kids were in the back seat. We were about halfway home when the car just died. Everything went dark. Engine stopped. Power steering stopped. No lights. What did you do? I tried to restart it. Nothing worked. My phone had no service. The temperature outside was nearly 40 below with wind chill. Did you consider staying in the car? Yes, but I knew the car would freeze by morning. The plows wouldn't come until 6 a.m. at earliest. We would have died. So you decided to walk? I didn't decide. I just knew. Stay and die, or walk and maybe live. Those were the only options. You walked 4.8 miles in a blizzard with 2 children. Yes. With a wind chill of -38 degrees. Yes. You removed your own clothing to wrap your children. Sarah's voice broke. My boots were frozen. They were making the frostbite worse. And Lucas was so cold. He was shaking so hard he couldn't talk. I had to do something. So you took off your coat? Yes. Your sweater? Yes. Your boots? Yes. And you ran barefoot through the snow. Sarah was crying now. I ran because running keeps you warm. Running keeps blood flowing. I knew if I stopped we would all die. So I kept running. Mrs. Mitchell, why do you believe your husband did this? Sarah wiped her eyes, looked at Derek. Because he wanted me dead. Because dead wives don't testify at custody hearings. Because dead wives don't collect child support. Because dead wives collect insurance money. Do you believe he intended to kill your children as well? The policies were in his name. He would have gotten $150,000 for each of them. Yes, I believe he intended to kill them too. No further questions. Derek's lawyer approached for cross-examination. Mrs. Mitchell, isn't it true that you've made false accusations against my client before? No. Didn't you claim he assaulted you in 2022? A claim that was never proven. The police declined to prosecute. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. Isn't it possible that you're exaggerating your husband's behavior to gain advantage in custody proceedings? Sarah's eyes hardened. I'm missing 2 toes and a finger. My 6-year-old son still has nightmares every night. Does that seem like exaggeration to you? I'm asking if I walked 5 miles barefoot through a blizzard because your client tried to murder me and my children. I'm not exaggerating anything. I'm telling the truth. The lawyer retreated. No further questions. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Sarah sat in the hallway outside the courtroom, flanked by Stone and Priest. Lucas was at Mrs. Patterson's house. She didn't want him here for the verdict, whatever it was. You okay? Stone asked. I won't be okay until this is over. It's almost over. What if they don't convict him? Stone was quiet for a moment. Then we handle it another way. Stone, he tried to kill you and the kids, Sarah. That doesn't go unanswered. One way or another, he pays. Before Sarah could respond, the courtroom doors opened. The jury has reached a verdict. The foreman stood. Sarah couldn't breathe. On the charge of attempted first-degree murder of Sarah Mitchell, how does the jury find guilty? Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. On the charge of attempted first-degree murder of Lucas Mitchell, how does the jury find guilty? Stone squeezed her hand. On the charge of attempted first-degree murder of Lily Mitchell, how does the jury find guilty? Tears were streaming down Sarah's face now. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, how does the jury find guilty? On the charge of insurance fraud, how does the jury find guilty? Judge Hawkins nodded. The defendant will be remanded into custody pending sentencing. Sentencing hearing will be held in 30 days. Derek showed no emotion, just stared straight ahead as the bailiffs led him away. But as he passed Sarah's row, he stopped. Looked at her. This isn't over, he whispered. Stone was on his feet in an instant, but the bailiffs were already pulling Derek away. What did he say? Priest asked. Sarah was shaking. He said it isn't over. It's over, Stone said firmly. He's going away for decades. He can't hurt you anymore. But Sarah couldn't shake the cold feeling in her chest. The sentencing hearing was held on April 17th. This time the gallery was even more packed. Word of the verdict had spread. People wanted to see justice served. Sarah had prepared a victim impact statement. She'd spent weeks writing it, revising it, trying to find the words for what Derek had done to her family. Judge Hawkins called the court to order. Before I pronounce sentence, the victim may make a statement. Mrs. Mitchell. Sarah stood, walked to the podium on unsteady legs, unfolded her paper. Your Honor, she began. On January 14th, I died. The courtroom was silent. I don't mean that metaphorically. My heart stopped for 11 seconds in the ambulance. The doctors had to bring me back. For 11 seconds, I was gone. She looked at Derek. My husband, the father of my children, tried to murder us for money. He installed a device in my car that would strand us in the middle of nowhere during the worst storm in 15 years. He calculated how long it would take us to die. He drove past us on that road knowing we were out there freezing to death, and he kept going. Her voice broke, but she continued. I walked 8 miles barefoot through a blizzard. I stripped off my own clothes to keep my children warm. I watched my 6-year-old son's lips turn blue. I heard my 4-year-old daughter stop crying because she was too cold to make noise. She was crying now, but she didn't stop. I lost 2 toes. I lost a finger. I lost my ability to trust. I lost my sense of safety. But I didn't lose my children, because I refused to die. Because a group of strangers showed up when no one else would. Because my brother, who's been dead for 18 months, somehow reached out and saved us. She turned to face Derek directly. You took 7 years of my life. You took my health. You took my peace of mind. But you didn't take what you wanted most. You didn't take me. You didn't take Lucas. You didn't take Lily. We're still here. We're still standing. And we're going to keep standing long after you're forgotten. She looked back at the judge. I'm not asking for vengeance. I'm asking for justice. I'm asking for enough time that my children can grow up without fear. I'm asking for enough time that I can heal. I'm asking for enough time that maybe someday I can forget his face. Sarah folded her paper, returned to her seat. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Judge Hawkins took a long moment before speaking. Derek Mitchell, please rise. Derek stood. I have presided over many cases in my 28 years on this bench. Cases of violence, cases of cruelty, cases of evil. But I have never seen anything like this. She leaned forward. You methodically planned the murder of your ex-wife and your 2 children. You used technology to strand them in conditions that should have killed them. You calculated their deaths down to the minute, and then you drove past them on that road knowing they were dying, and you went home and went to sleep. Her voice was cold with fury. Mrs. Mitchell survived because she is stronger than you could ever imagine, because she loves her children more than you love anything, because strangers showed up when you abandoned them. Not because of anything you did. You fully intended for them to die. She straightened. For the crime of attempted first-degree murder of Sarah Mitchell, I sentence you to 8 years. For the attempted first-degree murder of Lucas Mitchell, 8 years. For the attempted first-degree murder of Lily Mitchell, 8 years. For conspiracy to commit murder, 5 years. For insurance fraud, 2 years. These sentences will run consecutively. She did the math in her head. So did Sarah. That's 31 years, Mr. Mitchell. You will be eligible for parole in 20 years. But given the nature of your crimes, I strongly recommend that parole be denied. 31 years. Derek would be nearly 70 when he got out. Furthermore, upon release, you will have a permanent restraining order from your ex-wife and children. Any violation will result in immediate reincarceration, and you are permanently prohibited from unsupervised contact with any minor. Judge Hawkins looked at Derek with undisguised contempt. Do you have anything to say before you are remanded to custody? Derek was silent for a long moment. Then he looked at Sarah. I'll see you again. The bailiffs grabbed him, pulled him toward the door. Stone was on his feet, fists clenched. Was that a threat? Remove the defendant, Judge Hawkins ordered. Derek was gone. But his words hung in the air like poison. Outside the courthouse, Sarah stood on the steps, surrounded by reporters, cameras, microphones shoved in her face. Mrs. Mitchell, how do you feel about the verdict? Mrs. Mitchell, will you write a book about your experience? Mrs. Mitchell, what do you say to other domestic violence survivors? She couldn't hear them, could only hear Derek's voice. I'll see you again. Stone appeared beside her. Let's get you out of here. He led her through the crowd to the waiting motorcycles. 47 bikes formed a protective barrier around her. He threatened me, she whispered. In front of the judge. In front of everyone. He's going to prison for 31 years. He's not going to hurt you. You heard what he said. Stone stopped, took her shoulders, looked her in the eyes. Sarah, listen to me. There are 500 brothers who know your name. 500 men who will spend the rest of their lives making sure Derek Mitchell never touches you or those kids. He can threaten all he wants. He can dream all he wants. But he will never ever get to you. How can you be sure? Because Jake asked me to protect you, and I don't break promises. He helped her onto the back of his bike. Now let's go home. Your kids are waiting. Sarah wrapped her arms around his waist and held on tight as the motorcycles roared to life. Derek was going to prison. Her children were safe, and 500 Hell's Angels were watching. For now, that would have to be enough. 1 year later, Sarah still woke up at 3:17 a.m. every single night. Like clockwork. Her body remembered the exact moment she had collapsed through those hospital doors, even when her mind tried to forget. She would lie in bed, listening to the silence, waiting for her heart to stop racing. Some nights she could fall back asleep. Most nights she couldn't. But tonight was different. Tonight was January 14th, the anniversary. Sarah got out of bed and walked to the window. The snow was falling softly outside, nothing like the blizzard that had nearly killed her. Just gentle white flakes drifting down through the darkness. Her phone buzzed. Text from Stone. "You awake?" She typed back. "Always." "Look outside." Sarah pulled back the curtain, looked down at the parking lot. 47 motorcycles, lined up in perfect formation. Engines off, riders standing beside their bikes. Her phone buzzed again. "We're here? We're always here." Sarah pressed her hand against the cold glass and cried. The memorial ride was scheduled for 10 a.m. Sarah had tried to talk them out of it, told them it wasn't necessary, told them she didn't want to make a big deal out of the anniversary. Stone had laughed. "It's not about what you want. It's about what's right." So here she was, standing in her apartment at 9:30 a.m., trying to decide what to wear to a motorcycle parade being held in her honor. Lucas appeared in the doorway. "Mom? The bikes are here?" "I know, baby. I can hear them." The rumble was unmistakable. Even from the third floor, Sarah could feel it in her chest, the sound of hundreds of engines idling. "Can I ride with Uncle Stone?" Sarah smiled. Lucas had started calling him that about 6 months ago. Stone had pretended to be annoyed, but Sarah had seen the tears in his eyes. "If he says it's okay." He already said yes. He texted me this morning. "Then I guess you're riding with Uncle Stone." Lucas pumped his fist. "Yes." Lily wandered in, still rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Mommy, why are there so many motorcycles?" "They're here for us, sweetheart. For the ride." "Where are we going?" Sarah knelt down. "We're going to visit Uncle Jake. Do you remember Uncle Jake?" Lily shook her head. She had been too young when Jake died to remember him. "He was my brother, and he loved you very much. Today we're going to say thank you to him." "For what?" Sarah looked out the window at the rows of motorcycles. "For sending us a family." The ride began at 10:17 a.m. Sarah had never seen anything like it. 312 motorcycles stretched down the main street of Billings engines, roaring chrome, gleaming in the winter sun. She rode behind Stone, her arms wrapped around his waist, the leather of his cut pressing against her cheek. Lucas rode with Priest. Lily rode with Doc, strapped into a special child seat that the chapter had custom-built for her. People lined the streets, not just locals who knew the story, strangers who had read about it online, driven hundreds of miles to witness this moment. They held signs. "We stand with Sarah. Mothers are warriors. 500 strong. Sarah couldn't see the signs through her tears. They rode through downtown Billings, past St. Michael's Hospital where Sarah had been brought back from the dead, past the courthouse where Derek had been sentenced to 31 years, past the police station where Stone had coordinated the search that saved her life. Then they headed out of town toward the cemetery where Jake was buried. The ride took 47 minutes. When they arrived, the motorcycles parked in perfect rows. 312 bikes. 312 riders. All standing in silence at the grave of a man most of them had never met. Sarah walked to the headstone, Lily holding one hand and Lucas holding the other. Jacob, Hammer Mitchell, 1983-2023. Brother, son, protector, ride free forever. She knelt down, placed a bouquet of purple carnations on the grave. Jake's favorite. "Hey, big brother," she whispered. "I brought the kids." Lily looked at the headstone. "Is Uncle Jake in there? His body is sweetheart, but his spirit is everywhere. He's watching over us right now. Can he see the motorcycles?" Sarah smiled through her tears. "He can definitely see the motorcycles." Stone stepped forward. The crowd fell silent. "1 year ago today," he began, his voice carrying across the cemetery. "This woman walked 4.8 miles through a blizzard, barefoot, in -40 wind chill, carrying her 2 children, because her husband tried to murder them for insurance money." He looked at Sarah. She shouldn't have survived. Nobody survives that. But she did. Because she's stronger than anyone I've ever known. Because she loves her kids more than she loves breathing. And because my brother Jake, her brother, reached out from wherever he is and made damn sure we found her in time. His voice broke. Jake made me promise to protect her. Before he died, he grabbed my arm and said, "If Sarah ever needs help, you find her." That promise saved her life. That promise is why we're all standing here today. He turned to the grave. "Brother, we kept our word. Your sister is safe. Your niece and nephew are thriving. The man who tried to hurt them is rotting in a cell for the next 30 years. You can rest easy now. We've got them." He stepped back, nodded to Sarah. She stood, faced the crowd. "I don't know most of you," she said. "A year ago, I didn't know any of you. But you showed up, in the middle of the night, in the worst storm in 15 years. You showed up for a woman you'd never met because her brother asked you to." She wiped her eyes. "I spent 7 years being told I was crazy, being told I was overreacting, being told that Derek wasn't really dangerous, that I just needed to give him another chance. The system failed me 5 times. 5 restraining order violations. 5 times he was arrested and released. 5 chances to kill me before he finally tried." Her voice hardened. "But you didn't fail me. You didn't give him chances. You showed up. You stayed. You protected us when nobody else would." She looked at Stone. "I don't have the words to thank you. So, I'm just going to say this, Jake was right. He always said that if you need help, find the men with the motorcycles. He said they were family. And he was right. You are my family now. All 500 of you. For the rest of my life." The crowd roared. 312 voices shouting, crying, cheering. Sarah looked down at Jake's grave one more time. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Then she took her children's hands and walked back to the motorcycles. 3 months after the memorial ride, Sarah got a letter. It was postmarked from Montana State Prison. The return address made her blood run cold. Derek Mitchell, inmate number 47823. Her hands shook as she opened the envelope. Dear Sarah, I've had a lot of time to think in here. A lot of time to understand what I did wrong. I know you probably won't believe me, but I'm sorry. I was sick. I was desperate. I made terrible choices. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I think about Lucas and Lily every day. They're my children too, and I love them. I hope someday when they're older they'll want to know their father. I hope someday you'll let them visit me. I'm a changed man, Sarah. Prison has changed me. I know I can't undo what I did, but I can try to be better. For them. For you. Always Derek. Sarah read the letter 3 times. Then she walked to the kitchen, opened the junk drawer, and pulled out a lighter. She burned the letter in the sink, watched the paper curl and blacken and turn to ash. Then she called Stone. He wrote to me. Silence on the other end. Then, what did he say? That he's sorry. That he's changed. That he wants to see the kids. What do you want to do? Sarah watched the last of the ashes swirl down the drain. I want him to know that his words mean nothing to me. That his apologies mean nothing. That he will never ever see my children again. Then that's what we'll make sure of. How? I have friends inside. Guys who owe me favors. Derek's going to learn very quickly that writing letters to you is a bad idea. Stone, I don't want you to... I'm not going to hurt him. I'm just going to make his life uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Until he gets the message. Sarah closed her eyes. Thank you. That's what family does. She hung up. Looked at the empty sink. Derek Mitchell was 300 miles away, locked in a cell, serving 31 years. But somehow, he was still trying to reach her. Still trying to manipulate her. Still trying to worm his way back into her life. Some people never change. But Sarah had changed. She wasn't afraid anymore. 2 weeks later, Derek stopped writing. Sarah didn't ask what Stone had done. She didn't want to know. The community rallied around her in ways she never expected. A GoFundMe campaign raised $847,000, enough to pay off her medical bills, buy a new car, put a down payment on a house, enough to start over. A law firm offered to represent her for free in the custody case. Not that there was much of a case left. Derek had forfeited all parental rights when he tried to murder his children. A domestic violence shelter offered her a job as an advocate. $52,000 a year, plus benefits. More money than she'd ever made in her life. We need someone who understands, the director told her. Someone who's been through it. Someone who can look a scared woman in the eye and say, I know exactly what you're feeling. Sarah took the job. On her first day, a young woman came into the shelter. Black eye. Split lip. 3 kids under 10. My husband says he's going to kill me if I leave, she whispered. The police won't help. My family doesn't believe me. I don't know what to do. Sarah sat down across from her. What's your name? Maria. Maria. I'm going to tell you something and I need you to listen. Really listen. Maria nodded. 3 years ago, I was exactly where you are. Trapped, terrified, convinced that nobody would help me. My husband controlled everything. My money, my time, my thoughts. I was sure that if I tried to leave, he would kill me. What happened? Sarah rolled up her sleeve, showed the scars on her arm from the frostbite. He tried. He disabled my car in the middle of a blizzard. I walked 5 miles barefoot in negative 40-degree weather with my 2 kids. I lost 2 toes and a finger. My heart stopped for 11 seconds. Maria's eyes went wide. But I'm still here. My kids are still here. And my husband is serving 31 years in prison. Sarah leaned forward. The system might fail you. The police might fail you. Your family might fail you, but you cannot fail yourself. You have to fight. Every single day, even when it feels impossible, because your children need you to survive. Maria was crying. I don't know if I'm strong enough. You're stronger than you know. I didn't think I was strong enough either, but I walked 5 miles barefoot in a blizzard, and if I can do that, you can do this. She took Maria's hand. I'm going to help you. We're going to find you a safe place to stay. We're going to get a restraining order. We're going to document everything. And if the system fails you, we're going to find people who won't. People like who? Sarah smiled. Let me tell you about the Hells Angels. 2 years after the blizzard, Sarah Mitchell stood on the steps of the Montana State Capitol. Behind her, 400 people held signs. Survivors. Advocates. Hells Angels in their leather cuts. Police officers who had seen the system fail too many times. Legislators who had finally agreed to listen. Sarah stepped up to the microphone. My name is Sarah Mitchell. 2 years ago, my ex-husband tried to murder me and my 2 children. He violated a restraining order 5 times before he finally tried to kill us. 5 times. And the system let him go every single time. She looked out at the crowd. I'm not special. There are thousands of women like me across this country. Women who file reports that get ignored. Women who get restraining orders that mean nothing. Women who beg for protection and get told to be patient, to document everything, to wait for the system to work. Her voice rose. The system doesn't work. Not fast enough. Not well enough. Not for the women who need it most. She held up a folder. This is Jake's Law, named after my brother who died before he could see me escape. This law requires immediate arrest and 72-hour mandatory holds for all restraining order violations. No more same-day releases. No more second chances. No more waiting for something terrible to happen before we act. She looked directly at the cameras. I survived because 500 strangers showed up when the system failed. But most women don't have 500 strangers. Most women only have the system, and we have to make the system work. 3 months later, Jake's Law passed the Montana legislature with bipartisan support. Sarah was there when the governor signed it. Stone stood beside her. Lucas and Lily sat in the front row waving little American flags. This is for every woman who's ever been told to wait, Sarah said to the reporters afterward. This is for every woman who's ever been told she's overreacting. This is for every woman who's ever been failed by the people who were supposed to protect her. She looked at the signed bill in her hands. And this is for Jake, my brother, who made me promise to fight, and who sent me an army when I needed one. 3 years after the blizzard. Lucas turned 9. He had grown 4 inches. He played hockey now defense, the position that protected everyone else. He still saw a therapist once a month, but the nightmares had finally stopped. At his birthday party, surrounded by friends and family and a half-dozen Hells Angels who had shown up with a motorcycle-shaped cake, he stood up to give a speech. I want to say thank you, he said, his voice steadier than it had any right to be for a 9-year-old. Thank you to my mom, who's the bravest person I know. Thank you to Uncle Stone, who taught me how to ride a bike and throw a punch. Thank you to all the uncles who come to my hockey games even when it's really cold. He looked at Sarah. 3 years ago, something really bad almost happened to us, but it didn't, because my mom walked through a blizzard to save me and Lily, and because a bunch of people who didn't even know us showed up to help. He held up his glass of apple juice. My mom says that family isn't just the people you're born with. Family is the people who show up. So here's to everyone who showed up. You're my family now. The room erupted in cheers. Sarah pulled Lucas into her arms and held him tight. When did you get so wise? She whispered. I learned it from you, Mom. 5 years after the blizzard, Derek Mitchell came up for his first parole hearing. Sarah didn't attend. She didn't need to. Stone went in her place, along with 14 other Hell's Angels who sat silently in the gallery. The parole board reviewed Derek's record. 5 years of good behavior, completion of anger management classes, letters of support from prison counselors. Then they reviewed the victim impact statements. Sarah's letter describing the ongoing psychological trauma. Lucas's letter written in careful 9-year-old handwriting asking them to please not let his daddy out. The Hell's Angels' collective statement promising to monitor Derek's every move if he was released. The board deliberated for 20 minutes. Parole denied. When Stone called Sarah with the news, she cried for the first time in months. 15 more years, she said. 15 more years before I have to worry again. You'll never have to worry, Stone said. Even when he gets out, we'll be watching. Forever. You can't watch forever. Watch me. January 14th, 10 years after the blizzard. Sarah stood at Jake's grave alone this time. The annual ride had been held that morning, 412 motorcycles this year, but she had asked for a few minutes by herself. She was 42 now. The limp was permanent. The missing toes and finger were permanent. The scars, visible and invisible, were permanent. But she was alive. Lucas was 16, starting his junior year of high school, already talking about college. He wanted to be a lawyer, he said. Wanted to help people who couldn't help themselves. Lily was 14. She didn't remember the blizzard at all, which was a mercy. She only knew the story from what others had told her. To her, the Hell's Angels weren't scary men who had saved her life. They were just her uncles, the ones who showed up at every birthday and every graduation and every important moment. Derek was still in prison, another 10 years before his next parole hearing. Sarah had stopped thinking about him most days. He had become a ghost, a shadow from another life. "Hey, Jake," she said softly. "It's been 10 years. Can you believe it?" The wind rustled through the trees. She chose to believe it was an answer. "The kids are amazing. Lucas is so much like you, stubborn, protective, ready to fight anyone who messes with his family. Lily is, well, she's something else entirely. She's talking about becoming a motorcycle mechanic. Can you imagine your niece working on bikes?" She laughed, wiped her eyes. "Stone still checks on me every Saturday. 10 years and he hasn't missed a single one. I tried to tell him he didn't need to anymore, that we're safe, that Derek can't hurt us. You know what he said?" She paused. "He said, 'A promise is a promise.' Jake asked me to watch over you. He didn't put an expiration date on it." She knelt down, placed fresh flowers on the grave. "I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if any of this makes sense on the other side, but I need you to know something." Her voice cracked. "You saved us. You died 18 months before that blizzard, but you still saved us. Because you made Stone promise. Because you saw what Derek was before anyone else did. Because you loved me enough to plan for the worst." She pressed her hand against the cold stone. "I miss you every single day, but I know you're still here. Every time I see a motorcycle. Every time I hear that rumble. Every time one of your brothers shows up unannounced just to check on us. You're still here." She stood up, took a deep breath. "Rest easy, big brother. We're okay. We're more than okay. We're thriving." She walked back to the parking lot where Stone was waiting on his Harley. "You good?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm good." She climbed on behind him, wrapped her arms around his waist. "Let's go home." The motorcycle roared to life, and they rode off into the winter morning. Here's what you need to understand. Sarah Mitchell filed 5 police reports. She got a restraining order. She did everything the system told her to do, and the system failed. 5 violations, 2 arrests, 0 real consequences. The system was designed to be slow, to give the benefit of the doubt, to assume good faith. But Derek didn't have good faith. He had $900,000 in insurance policies and a plan. The Hells Angels mobilized 500 brothers because Sarah was family. But what about the women who don't have 500 motorcycles? You don't need 500 motorcycles to change someone's story. You need one person willing to pay attention, to believe, to act. When your neighbor says she's fine, but has a new bruise every week, don't look away. When a child shows up with injuries that don't match the explanation, ask the uncomfortable questions. When someone you know files a restraining order and the system releases the abuser within 48 hours, check on them. Offer your couch. Give your phone number. Show up. Because Sarah walked 4.8 miles through a blizzard barefoot, stripping off her own clothes to save her children, while 2 cars drove past without stopping. 2 people saw. 2 people chose not to help. You could be the 3rd person. The one who stops. The one who says, I believe you. I'm here. If this story moved you, share it. Comment below with someone who showed up for you when no one else did. Or comment with what you wish someone had done. Because stories like Sarah's happen every day. Most of them don't end with 500 Hells Angels and a rescue. Most of them end with silence. We're changing that, one story at a time. And if you're Sarah, if you're living this right now, I need you to know something. That whisper in your head that says you're crazy, that you're overreacting, that nobody will believe you. That's not your voice. That's his voice. And it's a lie. You're not invisible. Someone sees you. And if the system won't act, find people who will. Find your 500 motorcycles, or your one neighbor, or your one coworker who says, I believe you, I'm here. Because nobody should have to walk barefoot through a blizzard to save their children while the world drives past. Nobody. Sarah Mitchell doesn't ride motorcycles herself, but she wears a leather jacket now, Stone's spare, the one he gave her the day she moved into her new apartment. She wears it every January 14th. Lucas is in college now, pre-law, just like he planned. He still calls Stone every Sunday. Lily learned to ride last year. Her first bike was a gift from the Montana chapter. She rides with them now on the memorial rides her uncle's patch sewn onto her jacket. Derek Mitchell is still in prison. He'll be 73 when he gets out, and 500 men will still be watching. Stone still checks on Sarah every Saturday. Some promises don't have expiration dates, and every year on January 14th, motorcycles line up across Montana. 300, 400, sometimes more. Riding in memory of a mother who refused to die. Riding in honor of a brother who reached out from beyond the grave. Riding because that's what family does. They show up. Sarah stood at her window last January watching the bikes rumble past. Lily was beside her wearing her leather cut. Lucas was on the phone listening from his dorm room 3 states away. You know what I think about sometimes, Sarah said. What? Those 2 cars, the ones that drove past us in the blizzard, the ones that didn't stop. What about them? Sarah watched the motorcycles, hundreds of them, filling the street with thunder. I wonder if they ever found out, if they ever realized what they drove past, if they ever understood what they could have done. Does it matter? Sarah thought about it, then shook her head. No, it doesn't matter, because other people did stop. Other people did help, and that's what counts. She put her arm around her daughter. That's always what counts. The motorcycles kept coming, wave after wave of chrome and leather and loyalty, the sound of family arriving, the sound of promises kept, the sound of love showing up when it mattered most. Sarah Mitchell, walked 4.8 miles barefoot through a blizzard to save her children. 500 Hell's Angels swore to find those responsible, and justice was served. But more importantly than verdicts and sentences and prison cells, love showed up. That made all the difference. That will always make all the difference.